Welcome everyone. Next day, next vlog, as we are fighting multiple fronts. So unfortunately you can't really see here, but this is 4.19. As usual, how I preferred is fully modular, and I have not built an init.rd yet. Could actually do this next, because this is why I currently don't have any USB here, obviously, and not an init.rd, and so also not an root file system. But the reason I'm happy is, first of all, it looks like the kernel developers sometime earlier this year have added support for this old binary format device tree, so we can use our old petite boot loader stuff that I'm currently not wanting to update here, not to reflash, not to brick it. And second of all, my config did not boot. Also not when I did this in January. I was already having problems with this in January. Let me quickly, I think some of this button doesn't work now. And let's toggle this here. And that was also my problem in January, that most of my self-built kernels didn't boot, didn't have any output. And that's a little bit hard to debug then if you don't open this and solder there's some wires somewhere. Or there's also Ethernet console output stuff, but I did not set up this. And also if the kernel doesn't boot as much, then you also don't get this anyway. However, so first, this 4.19 did not build, and obviously we have all our custom patches for improved functionality with running in GameOS. Thankfully, the PS3 parts did not change so much that most of the patches still apply, even 5 years or 7 years or what it is later. Only some of the more exotic stuff needs re-diffing, rebasing, like other flash partitions or something. Now that I know that this is only some config build, because this was now 4.19. This is of course now 3.5 from January to have a working system. But what we booted into the kernel a moment ago was 4.19. Now I know that the compiler works, because you can never be sure that this was miscompiled by GCC. What do we have even there? What did I say the other day? GCC 8 or what this was. So now that we know that this is a config problem, just some setting too much or missing that's incompatible, all this fancy IBM whatsoever stuff. But then there is hope that I have a bootable image sometime soon, just reusing the config for now or something like that. So let's try this next. So let's see, after copying my next build, where I simply merged the old config with the new kernel, which is not the default T2 generated, fully modular with all the shared Apple bits and such. Let's see if that builds again still, because then in some minutes we have a full init.rd to theoretically test as well. I only hope then diet libc and whatever works well enough for the default init.rd to come up again. That would be the latest kernel from yesterday, by the way, did I? And then I next will also try to put the kernel on a USB stick. So that would be 4.19-2. Fingers crossed. Yeah, I guess that looks, yeah. That boots, and fortunately no kernel version number there, but this is now at least fully T2 build, and also with most of the vintage GameOS advanced features, only some of the patches disabled that either don't apply or don't build. So then, as I said before, modular without init.rd, so no USB. Let's boot again on the fully working kernel config. Then I should theoretically over the weekend latest hopefully have a T2 build. And I will also optimize this more, because historically I always have built 64-bit for 64-bit systems, but as many know, that has a performance impact with bigger binaries with 64-bit pointers and such. Historically I only have done this differently for Spark, for Ultra Spark, because I only had a slow system, so I wanted to have the maximum performance. So we defaulted to 32-bit user space, and maybe I even spend some extra time later in the winter to have a generic T2 option, because right now this option only exists for Spark. Not sure, maybe MIPS, have I done it for the Octane? Maybe. And also for experimental testing only for this X32 for 32-bit user space with 64-bit registers, and in general more general purpose registers for AMD 64 that nearly nobody is using, however. And I was thinking to have a general option for defaulting to 32-bit user space and T2 just for this performance reasons. And then we should theoretically have slightly improved performance running the 32-bit user space on the PS3 just to optimize things. As so many are interested, then we should also build the most optimal system for this. So let's shortly wait for the build server there and then hopefully have a fully booting system again with top of the line T2 trunk built, and then tomorrow or so, or probably tomorrow I have other things to do, but maybe latest on Saturday or something for the hopefully end of the weekend have something bootable there for you all to share. So that built as expected, and so the build output is here in PowerPC build here in build PowerPC, that is a config name, and then here is all the stuff. What prevented this from boot is one of those config options that look like this, and this is now the old config that I copied over, and one of those options prevents booting, and the resulting binary packages are here, so we can copy this here to, do we have more than one? Firmware header, yeah. So we can copy this to, so copying it to the PS3, 6 megabyte per second. So then we can, is the mine new enough? Maybe not. Yeah, mine is not so big. Let's shortly emerge missing only mine. Yeah, this is not a new version number. Because then mine has support for set standard, and mine is a binary package installer thing, small thing from Rock Linux back in the day. Maybe we also fully replace this with something else, as we have this tarballs as simple package formats that I like very much. And mine is just doing a little bit administration, file keeping behind the scene, very minimal. Let's quickly emerge this from source and then we can install it. And I could also unpack it, but then it would overwrite the file list and then the system would not have all the previous kernel files in there for maintenance reason. So just some minute later, let's try. So was also in, this is really annoying. I probably with this Apple keyboard, this kernel probably currently doesn't have this Apple support stuff from that I usually have, so this probably leaves us some trying to process some alt graph stuff for the German layout, probably leaves this. Here you see the GameOS patches. They nearly all apply from 10 years ago when this was unmodified. Only one here was slightly modified. Some of them not that important. For example, Slim Ethernet or so. Currently not in there. Need more rebasing, rediffing. So then we could probably, hope I didn't clobber there something important, but this should probably been safe to install. Also you see here the other stuff. Radeon, Sleep for the Cube. Just the usual, my Adaptic USB exchange, also the Realtek audio and such. So let's see if we can boot this. This probably should work unless some device pass here for the multiple flash storage region stuff. It's doing something. I hope it would have errored out early if the file name has a typo. Oh, we're getting something. Yeah, this is loading. Okay, damn. Okay, this is only LVM2. Just some volume stuff, change stuff that... Okay, the path is changed. But this is now with initRD, and as you can see, we have keyboards, so these modules are loaded here. This could also be interesting for non-PlayStation people. Diagnostic stuff here, so we have proc command line, so we have root PS3. Let's see what we have there. PS3, DA, DD. This could be the multiple storage reason thing, maybe. There was a patch partition, so we somehow don't have a partition on there. So what did we get there? It's of course always slightly How was it? Did we before not had a partition on this devices? Yeah, then I need to rediff this patch, unfortunately. But at least super promising that we have the very latest kernel booting here for the most part. Just a small game OS, custom patches and so on, you name it. I guess that's it for today, because otherwise it becomes midnight. So I hope you learned something. Share, like and subscribe. And obviously very close having their stuff working and ready to share. We have less reflections or just up the brightness. So I spent some extra time last night to rediff the kernel patches. So now I recompiled with all the storage regions and whatever. Only very little is still disabled. Very little is still disabled. Only some shared SPU enumeration. This Jupyter is, I think, Wi-Fi and Ethernet of the Slim or so. This EncDeq I rediffed slightly, but there was still some API change. I'm also not 100% sure what exactly this is. Is SPU ISO something? Maybe this is this isolated 7th for the hypervisor, this cell SPU or whatever. So now we copy this over again. Toolchain packages and copy this again. As the last test kernel that finally partially booted could not mount the root file system, likely because this multi-region thing. Let's hope that works now. But that I had to quite rediff. I hope that really works. There's always a chance things crash and burn, especially with the bigger changes. And this also takes so much time. Quite too much time spent on just the latest kernel stuff here. But we need this for going forward. Certainly we don't want to use some 3.5 or 3.12 forever. And also make things easier, obviously, to have the latest T2 working. And I should have saved this already though. That was Linux 4.19.2, I think. There's, I think, some boot missing maybe. Yeah, boot. Now we crashed back to the hypervisor. That did not happen in a long term. System was not turned off properly. Then this could be my... Where even was this? Not seen the Game OS thing in quite a while. What have we done now? Things got hard power off and power on worked. I wonder why this failed like this. So this was not expected. I mostly only rediffed some patches. Probably the same will happen now. It's a little bit of a pity then. Why did it crash and burn the first time? So waiting for root device to become ready and no root device. Okay, then this did not yet help. Let's see how many storage devices we got. Did not get multiple regions here. What did we get here? MS, SD, CP, CF. So here we have this indeed PS3 disk. PS3DA, PS3DDS, that looks correct, this is what we needed. But we didn't get this PS3DD1. Wonder why we don't get this there. But somehow we also, maybe we don't register them correctly in this add disk something block device API call, as here they are definitely not. Do we have this holding devices in this modules, PS3? So I think I already found the problem. By the way, I think the videos look better at night, right? For the dark themes. So coming back to this, so the problem probably is, I have not yet test booted this again. Just to show you what kind of things we have to deal with. So here I probably have forgotten a return 0, because here is a cleanup code. So we have most likely constructed all these nice block devices for all the regions and then immediately tears them down, cleans them up again. At least with this we also have tested immediately the teardown error path. What I often do is just edit the patches, and here was also something that was not necessary anymore here. I think the bounce limit or flush, I think it was bounce limit, was not in the new code anymore. And then we need here a new line, return 0. So then we can rebuild this again and wait 30 minutes or so for this to finish and test boot again. And or some phone calls, emails and such later. Let's install this. Of course, even on the data center server, which also has other loads, it takes a little bit time. But anyway, so this could maybe work better now. Let's see. And also I think I like this night hacking scene more. At day it is too bright here. Maybe leave in the comments below if you prefer night or day time video recording. So let's see, still need to edit this to maybe. Still wonder why the last time this hypervisor thing resetted so strangely. And we have a booting system. So then my refactoring of all the Module 1 patches works. All the multi-region storage thing works here. See, does Ethernet work? No, we don't have USB. We had USB before. Why is here now? But why did it work in the init RD then? Then USB errors. There is a trackpad. Trackpad works. Then it could be that. Why do we have here some modules not were they renamed, or maybe these are decade-old hard-coded things here. All the many details as usual. Do I have another keyboard here? Because this could be due to Apple keyboard driver not built in for the Apple quirks. Damn it. There's no more video recording like this at daytime, so I booted with intentionally a wrong rootfs, because here, as you see in the init RD, this is really 4.19.2. So to manually finish here the boot, as I promised, also non-PlayStation people will always learn you something. So we just type this here, none, best without typos. So now the bind mount. So and then, if you make a typo, it will die here. Panic without init process. So now the keyword works. Not really an idea why it did not work before, as this Apple HID driver is in the kernel. Anyway, just for test, we will stabilize all these details as soon as we have releases, because the thing is with manually filling around here, there's always some detail not working, but right now we have keyboard. Really wonder what USB fluke that was. So yeah, so then, do we really have audio? No, we have audio. Maybe, no? PS3 sound started. Okay, whatever. By the way, it should show up in proc sound. Why? Maybe it doesn't have a mixer. Super clever. Okay. Anyway, hope you learned something. We have a new kernel. The next day is ASAP, hopefully over the weekend. Hopefully a T2 build to share. And then further optimizations and so on and so on. So testing the new installed system, or change rooted at least. So things running, subversion updated, with black box, X server. But this is frame buffer, not yet hardware isolated. We will need to work on this next, but that is a much bigger topic than for December or so. And yeah, so at least so far this things work. Also the latest kernel now, as this is now not that someone says this is Dr. to Photoshop. This is of course 4.19. And here, now back to real world video editing, and I hope to see you soon.